Yo, how's it going, guys? It is Richard Unicorn Caller here, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Happy Christmas Eve if it's Christmas where you're at. Also, happy birthday, happy Christmas, happy New Year to everybody. We are back, and what is not to love about another healing build video? This is actually a pretty interesting build. It has not only a lot of variations, but I decided to kind of lean back on the pay to play kind of stuff, or things that you would traditionally get out of a bundle or a pack in a sort of sense. So yeah, this entire build, surprisingly or not, you can get all of these gear pieces completely for free by farming the, dungeons or whatever it is, or crafting it. And honestly, it looks like a pretty solid build. I still have to do a few test runs of it, but honestly, I am really excited. We're going to be having some low level gear, but also some high level gear mixed into that, because we are level 180 wizards. And in the Darkmoor update, they did do a good job focusing on outgoing, which is great. But over time, I've started to notice that comparing the gears, how they would always draw back on a lot of things. So sometimes there would be a hat that would have a lot of critical with it, but sometimes it would have a shield pin. Maybe it would be a boot that would have a lot of critical but no shadow pip rating with it, which is ironic because we have a Darkmoor update, and I feel like KI is kind of down a path where they don't really remember how to make good gear anymore, which could also be quote unquote subjective. But do keep in mind, they had changed the way that Darkmoor crafting works. And in my personal defense, I just think it's not worth it. I'm gonna be straight with y'all. I just don't think that you should be farming that excessive amount of time just to get a small marginal stat increase. So this build is gonna kind of lay off of that. It will be time consuming, yes, but hopefully it helps some people out. For the most part, pretty much anyone can reach 200 outgoing. And of course, some of you guys will have way more than that. Probably up to even like 260. But for me personally, this is a pretty cool build. Now let's get into this disclaimers, not PvP, not raid ready, blah, 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 blah. Let's jump right into it. Starting with the hat. No, not my stats. Don't look at my stats. Don't look at my stats. Not yet. Don't pause the video. Don't go back. Just watch, okay? Save the excitement. But we are going back in time to level 160. Back when Novus first dropped, and we are going for the Eternal Inspired Helm again. You probably see me in a lot of healing build videos use this hat. It's a pretty good hat because it pretty much has everything that you would need to heal, right? Comes with a lot of health, good pip chance, good crit block rating, good resist, good accuracy, critical damage, and also a shadow pip rating. That is awesome. And it also comes with shield pins. Yes, we love that. Now remember, in the Darkmoor update, they updated the shield pins based off of the school's kind of like damage or whatever it is, but pretty much if you're a storm, you're only going to get like a really tiny healing pin. But if you're someone like a life or even an ice or a balance, you're going to get a huge healing pin. And so for life, the level 180 shield mending pin is all the way up to 46%. And that's just off of the hat alone. Now, for the sword pins, I have the death, whatchamacallit, death critical, but honestly, after changing the robe, I don't really think it matters what type of sword pin you use. Probably a myth if you wanted to use Grendel's amends, most likely. But honestly, until there's a little bit more death healing spells to use that are available for other classes besides, death, then I don't really see a point of using the sword pins a whole lot. So now let's go into the robe. Oh, and by the way, to get the internal inspired, you can craft it. It's a super easy craft. Might take it a little bit, but it's not too hard. It should be pretty easy. We got Dragoon, which is also another craftable gear. And Dragoon, all the way to level 130. And this is what I mean by like, oh, they don't know how to make gear anymore, because this is a really good robe, man. It comes with a lot of health. A lot. And it comes with a lot of pip chance, which is also pretty good. And a lot of critical block, a lot of resist, pretty decent resist actually for a free to play robe. This is pretty solid. It comes with a little bit of accuracy. I kind of wish it had a little bit of a bump in accuracy, but that's fine. 2% pierce, 15% outgoing, which is pretty solid, not too bad. And also 17 at Shadow Pip rating. It also comes with a item card that can boost your outgoing healing spells up to 30%. Not just the traditional 25%. This is specifically for 30%. That is awesome. I also gotta go into the style of the gear, because I know a lot of people always ask me, Richard, where did you get that piece of gear from? This is the heretical hat that is stitched. You basically get this from doing all of Selenopolis challenge mode and basically getting all the badges for that, right? And then for the robe, this is just the novice masterpiece stitched on. And honestly, I gotta say, now that I'm looking back at it, novice is pretty fire, bro. I'm not even gonna lie with you. Like, look at that design. Look at that. You have hands that are behind you, and you got this big old eyeball and this floating cape. Like, that is tough. I feel like they kind of went backwards with the gear over time, because the design for this is insane. That is clean, right? I love it. Now, obviously, if you want to be, spoiled, of course, there's a Spooky Carnival suit, right? Now, that costs money, right? And then you also have the Falcon 9 armor. That also costs money. So that's why we're going back a little bit and making this a little bit of a updated free-to-play build. Now, I will do an updated guide that will show you all the stuff that you do buy if you had the money for that. But I understand not everybody has money to throw at KI. And quite honestly, going in 2026, I don't even know if I'm going to spend a single cent on the game. Again, that Darkmoor crafting change really irked me. All right, let's go into the boots. The boot. Oh, by the way, for the Dragoon robe, you can craft it as well. It will take you some time, but it's like super easy. Everybody's usually farming abandoned houses for that. Shouldn't be too hard. All right, the Eternal Inspired Boots. And again, going in from Novus, and it has just one of everything. It has a decent amount of health, decent amount of pip chance, and a decent amount of crit block. Actually, I would say that's a high crit block rating. Then a lot of resist, which is really good, some accuracy, and some critical, some damage, and of course the shadow pip rating, which is also pretty good. And again, it comes with a shield pin, it comes with a power pin, and it also comes with a sword pin. So you have another shield pin at level 180, which you have to sadly farm Darkmoor and farm the relics to craft that. It shouldn't take you too long. It only takes like 10 relics, I believe, or 10 or 12. So they shouldn't take you too hard to craft these, but for 46%, that is awesome. And that's fantastic. So right off the bat, just from the hat and boots alone, you're going to be at least up to 80+% like outgoing. Probably actually 90% at the bare minimum, 90%. And that's not even including the robe, which the robe is going to slot you for 15%. So you're already pretty much at 100 outgoing, right? And that's what I love about the Darkmoor update, is that they kind of buffed up the outgoing. So let's go into the wand, which also has a lot of variations. For now, I have another crafted item. This is the Root of Spring. It's a Shadow Forge all the way back in Chrysalis. It shouldn't take it too long to craft. I mean, I don't think it's something that's really difficult to craft. I mean, I could be wrong, but at least back in the day, it wasn't that bad. I mean, you need Lore Master treasure card, which I'm pretty sure easy to get nowadays. Rebirth treasure cards you can buy. Spinosaur treasure cards, I don't think they're too hard to get. Then you need some Stardust, some Astral Shards, Ether, Kelp, and then mend treasure cards. I think it honestly might depend on the type of player you are. Like, if you're someone that's been playing this game for a long time, you probably already have these reagents at the ready. But I will say that this wand is definitely worth it. Now, even though it is at a low outgoing 12%, you might find the Emerald Cayman's Scepter from doing the Aztec Stone Key boss. That's a drop chance, and I think it has like up to like 20% outgoing. And of course, you can also buy some wands as well from the bundles. But again, we're kind of leaning off of that a little bit, just because I don't think you really need it, even though they are great, but that's only if you had like a lot of money to throw at KI. But if you don't, you have the Shadow Forge. You can also farm the Silver Order of the Spiral from Lore Magus. You can also just get the Sword of Kings. I'm pretty sure they just give that for free as the Avalon quest. And a whole bunch of other wands here and there. But it's not really too hard to get an outgoing wand, quite honestly. But if you want a cool one that has a cool utility, definitely would recommend the Root of Spring. Not only is it going to come with 12% outgoing, but also it's going to give you that pip chance or extra pip. And then also it's going to give you 2 of these item cards. Now these are Brilliant Lights. These are at a plus 30%. It's going to cast on all your friends. Now this wand has a Maycast Rebirth spell. It's going to do the base of 400 outgoing, or not 400 outgoing, 400 healing, and then it's going to give everybody a 300 absorb shield, right? And this is a 0 pip rebirth. It's not going to take your pips or anything like that. And the casting rate for it is actually quite large. I think it's like a 50-50 chance, I think, that you'll get the Maycast off. So even if you don't get it off the first time, I think it will pretty much cast like the second time. But it's such a versatile wand because your outgoing is actually going to mesh well with this Maycast. So whatever outgoing you have is going to be the deciding factor of how much healing this Maycast does. Also, plus the plus 30% to your next healing spell. And if you also combine that with the Dragoon Vibrance Armor of the Aura at 30%, that will also do a massive amount of healing. And also, if you cast Sanctuary, that might also be a large amount of healing. So obviously, this is a pretty insane wand, right? Pretty busted. I'm not gonna lie. I remember back in the day, everybody used to run this wand because it just came in handy, especially if you're low on pips or if you just don't want to spend 8 pips on the rebirth. This is a great wand to have. And that's also available for all players of all the classes. All the classes and schools can use it. But again, that's up to you. There's definitely a lot more, outgoing wands out there if you want a little bit more outgoing, right? Alright, so got it over here. Yes, the Athame. This ain't the Dark Woman's Dagger anymore, ladies and gentlemen. The Dark Woman's Dagger has finally been dethroned. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, let me look into my house real quick so I can show y'all the comparison, because in my other video, when Darkmoor first launched, we talk about this Athame. Someone said that, oh, the Dark Woman's Dagger is better. And I'm like, no, it is not. And I understand why some people would think that. Is it in here? It might be inside. Because, to be fair, it took them 11 years. 11 plus years for them to finally have an Athame that rivaled the Dark Woman's Dagger. The problem with the Dark Woman's Dagger, for starters, is that they took it out of, like, the loot pool. That was when they were doing, like, a whole gear audit situation, and it was really dumb. You know, they wanted everybody to do, like, whatchamacallit. Yep, here it is. I'm gonna show y'all a comparison of each of these. Because I don't want to see a comment be like, Richard, you should be using the Dark Woman's thing. I'm like, no, let it go, Grandpa. Let it go. It's time to let it go. You know it's been so long, but it is time to let it go. So, the Dark Woman's Dagger, all the way from God knows how long, comes with a little bit of health, you know, a little bit of mana, and then 16% pip rating, 17 critical block, 17 damage, and then 20 outgoing, right? And then it comes with the 2 circle jewels. You can put your 8% on there. You get a triangle jewel and all that stuff. Pretty cool stuff, right? So now we have the Sanguine Monster Hide Athame, which is a huge, and I mean a huge health increase. You're going to get 1,502 health from this, and also 203 mana. We don't really care much about mana. You're also going to get an increase of your pip chance, up to 18%. You're also even going to get an increase of damage. You're going to get 10% universal damage, and then 10 life damage. So together, that's technically like 20 damage, right? You're also going to get an increase of outgoing. So now the Sanguine Monster Hide is at 22%, while the Dark Woman's Dagger is all the way at 20%. Now, for the tier socket, I just have a mana jewel because for some reason, KI really loves mana so much. And then for the circle jewel, which look, pause the music. I need to tell y'all something. And if you saw my other video and my Twitter farming for this jewel, I just gotta say this. I still don't know to this day, it's 2025, still to this day, why they have not made a flawless mending opal jewel crafting recipe. Now, the square sockets, you can put a 8% on, and you can craft those. They're not too hard to get, right? But for some reason, I don't know if it's like they discontinued it, or if they literally don't have the technology to just add a recipe for it. I've been asking for years, and they still don't budge. So I had to farm some Wallaroo boss for many, many hours just to get that mending opal. And let me just say this, that I will never shatter it ever again. You will never see me shatter this jewel ever again. Now, I have a square socket as a healing jewel, only because using the Sanguine Monster Hide Athame actually helps me reach stat caps for advanced combat situations, such as challenge mode, or most doubtably raids. It gets me at the outgoing cap, it gets me at the health caps. So that's why I don't shatter that health jewel in there. If I really wanted to, or I would just recommend putting a health jewel in there. But if you're trying to farm for that circle jewel, I really do wish y'all luck, because without a doubt, probably one of the hardest jewels I've farmed for in a while. And there is no reason why it should be that difficult. I will say that about my healing builds, is that particular jewel is really hard to get. Hey, and sometimes some of y'all get lucky. Somebody in the comments will probably be like, Richard, I got on my first run. I'm like, good job. I am so happy for you. If you somehow get lucky or you stumble across this jewel, please keep it and never throw it away. This is such a hard jewel to get. Please take it. You also get in the Azteca raid, but I don't care for Azteca. Now, for the triangle jewel, I just have the Dark Wind because, I need it for raids. I wouldn't put the Dark Wind in. I would probably supplement it for like a rebirth item card or whatever. It's up to you. So you can do whatever you want with that. Okay, let's go for the amulet now. Even though it's a Crown Shop amulet, this actually comes in from the Nightmare Gauntlet. All you have to do is form the Nightmare Gauntlet. We'll go into that in a second. But let's read the stats. Comes with a decent amount of health, and 10 resist on the amulet is awesome. That is massive. It also comes with 180 life pip conversion, which is pretty nice, and also 62 crit block rating. So it will come with the 2 square sockets, which I have 2 8%, because like I said, the square outgoing opals, those are easy to get, right? It's just a circle one that is really difficult to get. Now, for the spell cards, we get Brace, which is a minus 20 incoming damage. And then for some reason, we also get Immolate. I don't know why, but maybe if you want to cast it, maybe break a shield or something. I have no idea. But there you go. You get an item called Immolate. Maybe you could do some great damage with that. But overall, this is a great amulet to get. And like I said, you would form the Nightmare Gauntlet. Now, here's the trick. Here's what I did. Use an ult, because in order to actually craft it, you have to get the badges. This is when KI started doing like badge completions or, you know, badge lock the gear. So you'll do the dungeon, but do it on an ult. Okay? Grab like a super low level ult wizard and then use the gauntlet. And then obviously your max level wizard will get a bunch of participation trophies. But when you kill the boss, that will count as a boss defeat completion. And that will go towards your badge progress. So just do it an X amount of times. And then you will basically be allowed to craft it. Now, wait, where are my housing? Do I have like a housing gauntlet badges? Let's see. Oh my gosh, I got so many from the Lich. Eye of the Storm, that's cool. Where is it? Oh my gosh, I got so many badges, my goodness. Nightmare End Splitter. I don't think you need that one. I think it's like Nightmare Hair Razor, where you have to do it like 25 times. Hopefully it's not the 51. That just seems like a lot. That seems like a little bit much. Hopefully it's not 50. If it is, I apologize. But if you do it, like I said, with an alt account, just one-shot the enemies, it will be super easy. And then, for your last run, or when you already got the badge complete, you have to do the dungeon, or at least the dungeon, as a max level wizard. The reason for that, because when you're doing it with an ult, it's only going to show the lower level recipes, right? You need to go and, whatchamacallit, you need to go in as a max level wizard, max dungeon and everything. It might be a little tricky. Hopefully you can find some friends to do it. Do that. And also, make sure that you have the reagents needed for it. I'm going to leave all this information in the description. I'm pretty sure you need a couple of polygons, which is all the way from Novus here and there. Alright? So don't do it at a max level yet until you have the reagents. Because once you leave the gauntlet, you can't really go back into it, right? So make sure you do that. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Richard, where do I form the gauntlet if I don't have the gauntlet? By me! Talk to me! Drop a friend code in the comments below. I will type them up. And then once you see me on the friend list, or once I enter the code in, go to the castle tours, right? Go to the castle tours. And then when you're in that menu prompt, go to View Friends Castles, or Visit Friends Castle. You're going to see my name, Richard Unicorn Caller, and you're going to see the Blacksmith's Fjord. So once you see that, you're going to go to that house. And once you go there, you're going to turn to the left. I'm going to show you right now on screen, but you're going to go to the left. We're going to walk this path. Go to the left. And you will have access to every single gauntlet in the game. The only thing you have to do is just be friends with me. And then once you're done, if you want to de-add me, that's fine. I don't care. I really don't care. But do that, and you get access to all of this. You get access to all of these gauntlets. All you gotta do is just drop a friend code. If you don't know how to drop a friend code, you go over here to your friends tab, you go to more friends, you go to create and enter a true friend code, and then right here you can type in get a true friend code, and then you can give this to your friend. It's going to expire in 48 hours. You can type this one up if you want right now, and then you'll be on my friends list. We don't have to meet up in a realm or anything like that, but just add me and you get access to all of it. Look, Liches and Legends is a fun one. Winterbane. Forbidden Library Gauntlet, Unforgiven Dead, all of this. You get access to all of it. I'm pretty sure I have a lot, like, of friend slots. Yeah, I have enough to accommodate some people. So, if you want access, do that. Make sure to check that out. Alright. And that's for the amulet. Let's go into the rings. We have the level 180 Sanguine Monster Hide ring. Now, this ring is a little bit of a step up from the stone of the other side. But, here's the thing. If you still want to use the stone of the other side, I don't blame you. Because what's not to love about 33% outgoing, right? I love it. Now, here's the thing. The Monster Hide ring doesn't even have a health to it. It doesn't even have a health stat. So if you're someone that wants health, then you might not even like this ring at all. But for me, I wanted to shake it up a little bit. So it's going to come with 168 mana. It's going to come with 23 power pip rating. That is a lot. It's also going to come with 48 universal critical and 48 life critical. It's also going to come with 10 life damage and also 29% outgoing, which isn't that bad. And then it's going to come with 2 tier sockets. For the tier sockets, I have more mana opals because for some reason KI wants you to have a lot of mana. So that's what we're doing. And I have them laying around, so you might as well use them. Of course, you can use item cards such as the Balance Feint, but honestly, I rarely use them to the point where I need them, so I don't really think it's really worth getting. If you want to, they do come in handy, but I don't know. I just don't use it to begin with. And then for the square socket, I have the plus 8% outgoing Mending Opal, which I said the 8% for the square are super easy to get, but the circle is insane. And that's probably why I use this ring to begin with, just because it doesn't have a circle slot, which is pretty good. So let's go on for the pet. The pet can be subjective. You can do whatever you want. Now, for me personally, especially for traditional PvE experiences, I want to focus a lot on AoE stuff. So stuff like Unicorn and the Legion Shield are going to cast quite frequently, right? Of course, you can still go for Healing Current or, you know, Fairy Friend or whatever, but that's for yourself only. And we're in a thing where we want to heal as many people as possible, right? So, for this pet, I have Spell Proof, Spell Defy, so 5%, 10% Universal Resist, and also Maycast Legion Shield. The Maycast Legion Shield is at a minus 45, and it will cast on all your allies. It usually casts a lot. We also got Maycast Unicorn as well, which is at a base of 465 healing. Now remember, our outgoing is passive. So that 465 is going to be way bigger than that. And you're going to pull off some pretty awesome numbers. We also have the Maycast Pigsy Jewel. I will say that is probably the only thing that you would most likely have to pay for, unfortunately. This is part of the Krogger Jewel set, and you have to get it at a certain month. Luckily for me, I had got this jewel way back then during the first couple of years of the Scroll of Fortune. That's when they started giving out the Krogger jewels. And they just so happened to have the Maycast Pigsy one available for, like, I think the Spring Scroll of Fortune. So that was another way to get it. Now, if you don't have Maycast Pigsy Jewel, that's fine. You can just use a healer type of ability, or you can use the healer pet talent, right? Which basically just adds the 4%. The Maycast Pigsy is just a flex, right? You don't need it. It's not necessary, but if you do have it, it is pretty handy to have. And don't worry about shatter because you really can't shatter it. The only thing you can do is unsocket it. I would have to say that's probably one of the best things about. I actually have a healer opal in here if I wanted to. That's probably one of the best things about the cargo jewels is that, you know, you don't really shatter them unless you purposely trash them. I also got the Maycast Empowerment as well, which is also pretty good. But yeah, if you don't have the Lifesaver Jade, that is completely fine. Just swap it out for a healer opal or just get the healer talent in your pet pool, right? Now, I always have my Dryads in the hatchmaking kiosk, and you can find other variations and probably even better ones that might suit your own fancy in the hatchmaking kiosk. I wish there was an easy way to make pets, but the only thing I recommend is just going to the kiosk. Because that's pretty much how I made most of my Dryad pets. It's just through the kiosk. It's going to take a lot of gold, yeah, but sometimes the outcome can be worth it. And hopefully you get lucky. Alright, let's go into the mount. Ladies and gentlemen, we are using the rock mount, which you can get from doing the Sinbad gauntlet as a drop. It might take you a little bit, but it's at 3%. You really don't need a mount, and quite honestly, you don't need any stat mount whatsoever. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Richard, why are you not including the Mammoth Mini Mount? And here's the problem. It does not drop in the Jeweled Slopes dungeon anymore. There used to be a dungeon, or there still is a dungeon in Polaris, and it used to drop this mount as one of the drops. They took it out a year ago, or like years ago, ages ago, and now it's a Crown Shop exclusive only. That means that you can only get this mount in the Crown Shop if you really wanted to. And quite honestly, I'm not including it in part of the build because if we're being honest, these stat mounts are kind of so insignificant. You don't really need them. I don't think that 2% outgoing is really gonna be like a crushing build. You know, like, I don't think that's really gonna like make much of a difference. Is it gonna rock? Yeah, but I'm not gonna include it just for that fact of the matter. You know, just for that fact of the matter that it doesn't drop anymore. If it did drop, I would include it. But since it doesn't, we're not including it. Which sucks. Because I don't know why they did that. I don't know what type of technology they got going on at KI, but it doesn't drop anymore. You just have to buy it. I'm sorry. And even then, you don't need a stat mount. Besides, you could go for like the charity parade truck. Like, look at this mount. This mount's sick. Like, when you want like a better mount, I don't know. It might depend on how you're feeling. Quite honestly, we just gotta wait until they give us like a stat, or not a stat, but a mount stitching option or a mount transmog update. I don't know, again, that they have the tech for that. I feel like if they tried to do that, there would be a lot of bugs and glitches. So I'm actually kind of reconsidering that. Alright, let's go into the deck. The deck is another crafted item, and this is a throwback. Now that I think about it, I think all of our gear, for the most part, can either be crafted or dropped. Yeah, most of the stuff can be crafted. So for the deck, Tatiana's Deck of Salvation. This, boy, let me tell you, it's not a super hard deck to craft. And if you can't craft it, that's fine. You probably will get way better decks than this, but I'm only including it because I had one comment before saying, Richard, you need to use the Darkmoor deck so you can have more copies of your life spell. So that's why we're bringing it back up. And it's also a nice little throwback deck. And it also took me a long time to craft it in the first place, so you might as well use it. So, over here, obviously, it's not going to come with stuff like Arc Mastery or Pip Conversion or whatever. I mean, this was made all the way in level 100, right? So, you know, it's not going to have any of those fancy stats. And then the Darkmoor deck, right? You can craft it. And the thing about it is it comes with 60 health, low health, 18 critical, which isn't really going to do much. But also, check this out. It comes with a substat of 2% Shadow Resist, which is actually pretty hot. I'm not going to lie. And of course, it also gives you that starting pip. It also can come with a square socket or a circle socket. I have it in the square socket, and I put the plus 8% outgoing opal on it. Of course, you can use probably any other deck because there are plenty of other good decks out there. But check this out. The max copies we have for other spells is 7, and the max copies for life is 10. That means that if I really wanted to, I could go into battle with a maximum of 10 Pigsy spells and 10 Rebirth spells, or 10 Unicorn spells. That is massive, and that is insane depending on where you're at, or if someone just needs a spam healer. That is nuts. In my opinion, that's pretty nuts. Now, like I said, you can go for other ones, but most of the max copies are going to be down to 6. But it's really up to you. It also comes with some better stats as well, like more critical and stuff like that. But if you're someone that really doesn't want to grind, then it is also a pretty good alternative as well. Now, in order to craft it, you go to Darkmoor, you know, the OG Darkmoor. There will be a crafter kid to the left side, and he'll have the recipe for it in all the decks, right? They're not too... I shouldn't say that... I wouldn't say that it's really, really hard, but it'll be a little rough. Now, in order to make these, whatchamacallit, this is like the base version of it down here, which you don't want. You want the one with the jewels. In order to do that, you need the base version. Now, in order to get the base version, you have to craft it. Or at least that's how I think. I don't know if it drops anywhere, but it's probably easier to craft it. You would need some motes, which you can get motes from a lot of rematches, or not rematches, I would have to say like some of the older one-shot dungeons like Rattlebones Exalted duels and all the other duels and whatnot. I think most people should probably have a couple of motes here and there. And then you need the gargoyle fish. Let me tell you, this fish is a pain in the neck. Oh my god. This dude, I can't tell you how many hours it took me to really get this. I had to keep resetting the fishing pond over and over and over again just to get the thing to spawn in. It's a rare fish. It's classified as a rare fish. So that's what makes crafting this deck a little bit egregious. And if you're someone that absolutely does not like fishing, then just use anything else for the deck. Because quite honestly, I'm only using it just because it took me a while to get, so I'm making it. I'm using it. I made it. I'm going to use it. But again, you can use whatever you want. Even the Omen deck. Which you can get from Omen. Let me check where that's at. Even that deck is really good. Might even be better than the Darkmoor deck. Might even take you less time to even get it too. Just because it's as a drop, it's not like a crafted item. Let me show you the Omen deck real quick. It took me years just to get it. I don't know why I don't. Oh, you know why I don't use it? Because I think it comes with a triangle socket. I think that is why I do not use it whatsoever. Also, KI, can we please get a, whatchamacallit? Is it not called Omen? Let's type in Luphiliums, yeah. Yeah, it came with, it came with a triangle, nah. That's why I didn't use it. It came with a triangle. But it has a max copies of 8, so it's also kind of a downgrade a little bit. But again, that's all up to your own opinion on what you want to use. Oh my gosh, I'm coming. I'm coming. The kids are running wild. I gotta go soon. So, before we go, we talked about the decks. We talked about the hat, robe, boots, everything else. So let's talk about the overall stats, which you probably already saw in the beginning of the video. Hopefully you didn't. But let's go. Over here, we got 12,600 health. A little bit of low health. But for our mana, we have 725 mana, which is pretty good. Because why not? Why not have a lot of mana? Why not? And then we have 86 life damage, 70 resist, 70 universal resist. It's also pretty decent. Can it go higher? Yes, but at the cost of a few other stats. But again, this is more kind of geared for free to play, so it might depend on your own kind of preference on it. I mean, you could go higher, and you probably will go higher, but honestly, it's up to you. Some people might not even want to farm for the gear overall, quite honestly. We also got 15 life accuracy, which is absolutely perfect, making sure that we never fizzle a spell for life. Because life is technically just up to like 95 or 85 or whatnot, so you won't really be fizzling. Over here for the critical rating, it's 318, and then a lot more for death, but we're not using any death spells. Block rating is at 519, pretty decent. We don't care about pierce or stun resistance because KI doesn't really make stun resist gear nowadays. Now, for the incoming, we have nothing. For the outgoing, we have a whopping of 222. Now, can it go higher? Yes, because I would replace it with the square socket and put an 8% on there. So then if I did, it would be up to 230%. But we can't do that because I use it for raids, so I cannot do that. But 222% outgoing for a free-to-play build, pretty decent. And like I said, it can go higher, especially for the wands. You can go way higher than that, right? So modify it to your own well-being. And then over here, pet conversion is at 614. Our power pet rating is at a whopping 113%. That is nuts. And then our shadow pet rating is at 134%, which also could go higher if you socketed some triangle, some triangle jewels on it. Our arc mastery is at 144 at base. Honestly, you don't really need a whole lot of arc mastery. You'll still get school pips. Now, for our deck, as we wrap this up, let's talk about some of the spells, because some of the spells in the update has been updated. And personally, for me, I actually kind of reverted most of them because, number one, I don't use them in raids anymore, and number two, they kind of nerfed them to a point where they're not really good for setting up certain Jin or other gambits. So, for starters, let's go to Pigsy. So down below, they made Pigsy a selected target spell, which something I don't like. And now the recipient only gets 2 heal overtimes, which is fair. I think the previous version did that as well, but also it's a targeted spell. And I really just don't feel like targeting players constantly. And another thing to notice is that whenever you go for the advanced combat spells, most of the time, especially for healing spells, probably mostly healing spells, that you can only add in 4. We do not like that. So if you're a traditional PvE player, definitely go top path. I don't think the bottom path is worth it, even if you are trying to set up a Jin Gambit. I just think it's a waste of time. And plus, you only get 4 of these that can't be reshuffled back in, so you're kind of screwed if you run out of these spells. I don't know. I don't recommend the bottom anymore. Same thing with a rebirth. Even though the utility for it is cool, like, yay, it can remove traps, that's cool. But they nerfed it, so it only gives 2 heal overtimes now. We do not like that. We don't like that at all. Now, obviously, it can clear up to 7 traps off of a player, and it will then convert those removals into a plus 20 universal % blade, which is pretty good. But it might depend on the boss. Sometimes you won't really have the opportunity to really use a heal overtime like this, because it's not a burst heal. So if someone's been defeated and you cast a bottom path of rebirth, it's not going to revive them at all. Like, they'll just stay dead. You have to use a burst healing spell. And again, similar to Pigsy, you can only add in 4. You can only add in 4. We have a deck that can fill up with 10 life spells. So there's no point of using the bottom path. Now, obviously, you can switch it whenever you want. It takes gold. You can switch it whenever you want. But for me, I love using top path. I love it. And plus, it's not in any raid guide. So it's like there's no point in using it anymore. Like, they literally killed it off for setting up Jin Gambits. Like, literally. That's no reason to use it. Alright. So let's go into regenerate. I still use bottom path. Bottom path is fine. You can only add in 4. I rarely use this. I only use this for the fusion version of Toilet. If you fuse Toilet together with regenerate, this is basically what the bottom path looks like. It will actually remove 2 DOT counters, and it will replace those with HOTs. So this is a pretty good spell to have, and you can get this from Selenopolis. Understandably, a lot of people don't like Selenopolis or have farmed enough to get this spell or have done the spell quest for it. So there's actually a few people that probably don't even have this spell to begin with. But it's really good. It's not that bad. Wings of Fate, I still use top path. I don't really use bottom path. I mean, it is what it is. What else is in here? Sign of Life. I mean, you know, like, this one, nah, you know. Some of these are attack spells, and some of these are confusing conditionals to understand. So, for the most part, you can skip most of it. I mean, it depends on your playstyle. Spree Swarm is another good one. I actually do like bottom path Spree Swarm. This will clear 2 traps, and then also put a plus 25% incoming healing aura, which is actually pretty good. Now, do keep in mind that this will replace any other player's existing auras, so you might not want to use this if your Storm Wizard has a Frenzy up, because then if they attack, they won't have Frenzy, and that might maybe make them upset. Now, if you do use Spree Swarm, if it detects a dot on yourself, it will summon in a life minion, which is pretty cool. But again, it might depend on your own preference, and honestly, I might just go to the bottom path whatsoever. Might just do that, but honestly, it just really depends on what you want to do for that. For our deck, we're obviously going to put in 10 Pixies, which is absolutely insane, and then we're going to put in 10 Rebirths, which I think I got to remove a couple of spells just to add in 10 Rebirths, which is absolutely nuts. And like I said, you can go full on crazy with this build. You can also use spells like Dark Surge or Donate Shadow or Shadow Sentinel, which have been buffed, because that's up to an intercept of 50%. And then you can also do Shadow Seraph, which also got buffed, because that's been buffed up to 35% outgoing, which is pretty nice. For your item cards, of course, you have the Brilliant Light, which may trigger that may cast a Rebirth. You got the Spree Swarm item card from your Dryad Pet. You also got the Hammer Dryad spell card, which is also going to be very versatile as well. So you're going to be healing up quite a lot. I would also recommend Empowerment just to keep your pips flowing. And that pretty much wraps it up. Cycle of Life is also a good aura to increase your outgoing. And that pretty much wraps it up for the free-to-play level 180 gear build healing. The sad part about this at the end of the day is that there's only a few handful of bosses or instances that really require healing. Over time, you know, the meta is just to spam feints, which is ironic because I actually do have a feint setup, which is actually funny. But nowadays it's just spam feint or spam blades. Nobody really needs healing. The Storm Wizards that you're with probably just want to spam blades and just hit. So healing is kind of dead in the Wizard101. There's really no need for any of these healing build videos whatsoever, just because the bosses have just been getting completely, well, they're just super easy. You just spam feint and that's it. And it's kind of depressing. I look back at some of the older bosses like Storm Titan before they nerfed it, or the Devourer, and those are really fun instances that I love to do. Cavity Chamber, especially in Caramel, is also a really good one. But yeah, nowadays we don't really see a lot of people want a healer. So hopefully in the future, KI kind of makes a boss where healing is a necessity, or it would be beneficial. Because right now it's just spamming feints. It's just kind of boring. We're either doing some boring puzzle or whatever, just spamming feints or whatever. It just gets boring. But hopefully one day we'll see that. But as of right now, that is the healing build. Of course, some of you guys will be way over the outgoing. You guys will be way over, up to like 260%, I've heard. Which is easy. It's easy to get to 260, but again, this is just something I thought that would be fun for you guys on the little Christmas Eve. So yeah, until then, I'll talk to you guys later. And yeah, peace out. And happy holidays. Also, happy holidays.